Mara and Lena woke before the sun had fully risen. Under a cold concrete overpass, they unrolled the thin blankets they used as beds. Their stomachs rumbled, but they did not speak of hunger. Instead, they took turning breaths together, feeling the first chill of dawn on their faces. Mara brushed a strand of hair from Lena's eyes. Lena offered a small, brave smile. They had each other. That was enough to face another day on the streets by the time the city buses started their routes. The twins tugged on their only good clothes, faded dresses their mother once mended. They slung their worn backpacks over young shoulders and stepped onto the empty platform. The air smelled of diesel and wet pavement. Mara tightened her grip on Lena's hand, and together they climbed onto the number 27 bus, their footsteps echoing on the metal stairs inside. The twins found a narrow space between two rows of seats. Mara nodded at Lena. Without a word, they began their song. Their voices blended like gentle wind through trees. Mara took the higher notes with clear strength. Lena held the lower tones, soft and steady. Each note carried a piece of hope that someone would listen. Hope for a warm meal. Hope that life could be kinder today than yesterday. Passengers turned in their seats. Some stared quietly, moved by the pure, sorrowful melody. Others dropped coins into the open guitar case between the twins' feet. A few offered shy smiles or wiped tears from their eyes. The bus driver slowed at each stop, as if he too felt the song's pull. The echoes of the lullaby filled every corner of the bus, weaving through the hum of the engine and the early morning chatter as they sang. Mara's thoughts drifted to their mother's lullaby. She remembered the soft hum and warm kitchen light, the gentle rocking her mother gave before closing her eyes. Lena closed her own eyes now, picturing their mother's gentle face. In their memory, they were safe and held. The song was more than melody, it was a promise to themselves that they would keep going. They would stay strong for each other, no matter how hard the world felt. By the time the twins finished, the bus was nearly full. Coins in the case clinked like tiny bells of hope. Mara and Lena exchanged tired but proud smiles. They stood, bowed their heads together, and thanked the passengers in a soft whisper they both spoke at once. The riders returned their gratitude with gentle nods. As the bus rumbled on toward the crowded city streets, the twins settled to wait for the next stop. Their song had given them more than money. It had given them a moment of warmth in a cold world, and the courage to keep singing. Daniel waited at the bus stop, shoulders hunched against the morning chill. His breath formed small clouds in the gray air. He held a crumpled photograph in one hand, fingers tracing the edges as if the paper could bring back the warmth at once. Held in the image, a younger Daniel knelt between two little girls in matching dresses. Their smiles were bright eyes shining with trust. He closed his eyes and swallowed hard. The city around him moved on, unaware of the weight he carried. When the number 27 bus rounded the corner, Daniel's heart thudded in his chest. He stepped up the stairs without looking at the driver, his eyes fixed on the photograph. Inside, the morning light slanted through the windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like tiny spirits. Daniel found an empty seat near the front, the same place he might have once sat as a boy watching the world rush by. He folded himself small and slipped the photo out of sight, as if hiding it would make its promise come true. As the bus rumbled forward, Daniel's mind drifted to the last time he saw his wife. They had been so happy, planning for the twins' first birthday. He remembered their laughter mingling with the gentle tune of the lullaby his wife hummed. Then pain came, a sudden illness, hospital rooms and machines, and finally, the silence after her last breath. In his grief, he had wandered without purpose until his life emptied of color. Now the photograph was all that remained of hope. He glanced up as a soft melody rose through the bus. At first, he thought it was the engine's hum, but the notes were too clear, too tender. He recognized the lullaby instantly, the song his wife had taught the twins. His breath caught, not tightened in his throat. He dared not move, afraid that any sudden motion would shatter this fragile moment. The music drifted closer, growing stronger with each note. Daniel's hand trembled as he reached into his coat pocket. He touched the photograph again, a ritual. Of faith, he had almost given up on finding his daughters. He had almost given up on himself. But the song was like a beacon in the fog. It drew him forward, lifting a weight he had carried for too long. He realized that he was not alone in his sorrow. Somewhere on this bus were the two girls who could bring him back to life. The bus slowed for a stop. Daniel stood, heart pounding. Like a drum, he clutched the back of his seat for support, his eyes searching the aisle. The lullaby reached its final gentle chord and the bus fell into a hush. In that silence, Daniel felt his own tears slip free, straightened, folded the photograph, and stepped toward the sound. With each step, hope stirred inside him, fragile but growing. He would find them. He would say their names. And maybe, just maybe, they would let him back into their hearts. Daniel rose from his seat, heart pounding so loud it felt like thunder in his ears. He moved carefully along the narrow aisle, hand brushing against the worn seat backs for balance. Each step felt like it carried the weight of years lost. Kept his head low, afraid that if he looked up too soon, his courage might break and he would turn away forever. Ahead, Mara and Lena knelt on the floor beside their open guitar case. The last note of their lullaby had faded, and they were counting the coins they had earned. Mara's small fingers touched each piece of metal with care, while Lena tucked the handful into her pocket. They did not notice the man at first. When Daniel reached the twins, he paused a breath away. He folded and unfolded the photograph in his trembling hand. The image was faded, but their faces shone bright. He swallowed hard and knelt down so his eyes were level with theirs. The quiet rumble of the bus engine faded into the background as he lifted the photograph. "Mara?" he whispered. His voice cracked on the name he had not spoken in years. Lena looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. Mara's hand froze over her coins. She had heard her name, but no one called her that, not since before. She shook with confusion. Daniel straightened and spoke again, voice firmer now. "Lena," he held out the photo. "Who is this?" The paper trembled between his fingers. The bus seemed to hold its breath. Passengers watched in silence, sensing something precious unfolding. Lena reached out slowly, fingertips brushing the edge of the photograph. The girls exchanged a glance. Something in their eyes shifted. Recognition stirred like a soft wind through their memories. Mara's lips parted and a single tear rolled down her cheek. Lena's throat tightened, and she pressed her free hand against her heart. Daniel leaned forward, tears pooling in his own eyes. "I am your father," he said, each word gentle but full of hope. "I lost you once, but I found you again." His voice was soft as a prayer. The photograph slipped from his grasp, fluttering to the floor. He reached out with both hands, open and waiting. For a long moment, neither twin moved. Then Mara wiped her tear and rose. "Hey." Lena followed. Their small hands found Daniel's. They clung to him as if they would never let go. Daniel gathered them close, breathing in the warmth of their hair. The bus carried on, but for a moment the world outside did not matter. In that hush of reunion, hearts mended. The twins felt strength return to their bones. Daniel felt color seep back into his life. As the bus rolled toward the next stop, father and daughters held each other, weaving new memories in place of old pain. Together, they faced the road ahead, bound by song, love, and the promise of a family reunited. At the next stop, the bus jerked to a halt. The conductor stepped down from her raised platform, folding her arms tightly. Her eyes scanned the twins with quiet disapproval. She cleared her throat and said, "Your song is beautiful, but you must stop now." Mara's voice faltered, trailing into silence. Lena's shoulders shook as her song ended, and a few coins rolled in the case. Passengers shifted in their seats, uncomfortable at the sudden hush. Daniel felt a knot in his chest. As he rose, he moved forward, determined to protect his daughters. Daniel reached the conductor, his hands slightly trembling. He spoke clearly and gently. "Please, let them finish. Their song means more to them than you know." The conductor blinked at him, surprise softening her expression. She glanced back at the twins, whose eyes were full of worry. Daniel explained, "They lost their mother recently. Singing helps them feel close to her memory." He held out the photograph of the twins with their mother, voice steady. The conductor looked at the image, then at the girls. For a moment, Silence reigned, broken only by the bus's slow engine. The conductor sighed and motioned for Daniel to step aside. She spoke low so only he could hear. "I understand. Just keep the volume down." Relief washed over Daniel, and he nodded. He returned to Mara and Lena, who had huddled together. He whispered, "You can sing softly, just like before." Pressed her head against his shoulder and began a quiet hum. Lena placed her hand on her heart and joined, voices blending in a gentle, low melody. The passengers leaned back, listening as the lullaby returned, soft and comforting in the noisy bus. Some riders closed their eyes as they listened. An elderly woman dabbed her cheek with a tissue. A young man dropped more coins into the case. Without looking, mother smiled at her own child, remembering bedtime songs. The warm notes drifted through the bus, lifting the mood like sunlight through clouds. Daniel held the twins' hands to steady them. They felt safe, carried by his strength and the kindness of strangers. The bus felt smaller now, as if every heart on board was wrapped around their fragile song. When the twins finished, Daniel cradled them both with tender care. He asked softly, "Are you hungry? Would you like something to eat?" Mara squeezed his hand and nodded. Lena's eyes lit up at the offer. Daniel motioned to the conductor again and whispered, "Could we have a moment at the next stop? I want to buy them some breakfast." The conductor smiled and nodded, stepping aside. Daniel gathered coins from the guitar case and counted them. It was just enough for 2 small sandwiches. He winked at his daughters, and they shared a shy smile. As the bus neared the busy station, Daniel guided Mara and Lena off onto the sidewalk. "The morning air felt fresh and bright," he promised. "After breakfast, we will find a warm place to stay. We will be together." The twins nodded, hope glowing in their eyes. They walked with their father, their small hands wrapped in his. The bus's red taillights disappeared as they turned toward a nearby cafe. In that simple step, they left the cramped seats behind and stepped into a new morning filled with love, song, and the promise of tomorrow. With each step, Daniel felt the weight of his past lift. Mara and Lena hummed quietly, still holding on to memories of that song. The cafe sign glowed above them, a beacon of warmth and fresh beginnings. Together, they faced the day. They settled at a small round table by the cafe window. Daniel ordered 2 warm sandwiches and steaming cups of milk. The twins' eyes widened when the food arrived. Mara unwrapped her sandwich carefully, and Lena reached for her cup. Outside, the city bustled, but inside the cafe, the 3 shared a quiet space filled with soft morning light. Daniel watched as his daughters took their first bites, relief and gratitude warming his chest more than the coffee ever could. As they ate, Daniel asked gently, "What do you both want today?" Mara paused, chewing slowly, then said, "I want to sing again, but somewhere safe." Lena nodded, "And I want a bed that's not on the ground." Daniel's throat tightened. He reached across the table and took their hands. "We will find a place where you can rest, and I promise you will sing as much as you like." The twins smiled shyly, their confidence growing in his calm voice. Daniel cleared his throat and shared a small truth. "I'm sorry I was not there. Before, I made mistakes." He looked at the twins, his eyes soft and honest. Mara's hand squeezed his. Lena's gaze met his. The cafe's gentle hum faded behind the words they all felt but had not spoken. Daniel continued, "I want to be here now, and I will do everything I can so we never part again." He felt the weight of years lift, and in that moment, he was no longer lost. Mara's lips curved into a brave smile. "We forgive you, Papa." Her voice was quiet, but it held strength beyond her years. Lena added, "We want to help you too." Daniel swallowed back a tear, marveling at their grace. He promised, "We will help each other. You're a team." Each child nodded, eyes shining. Round them, other customers whispered softly, moved by the quiet healing at the table. When their plates were empty, Daniel paid the bill. He guided Mara and Lena out of the cafe and into the bright morning. The twins linked their arms through his. They walked together toward the small community center Daniel had spotted across the street. He had heard they offered temporary rooms and work advice. The twins hummed their lullaby as they walked. familiar melody, now a lullaby for their hope. As they reached the center's door, Daniel looked down at his daughters and said, "Here begins our new life." Mara and Lena glanced at one another. Then at their father's steady eyes. They stepped inside as a family, no longer strangers or shadows on a bus, but together, moving forward toward warmth, safety, and the songs that would always keep them close. Daniel led Mara and Lena through the center's tall doors into a small room that would be theirs for now. The walls were plain, and the single window let in soft light. A thin mattress lay on the floor, and a small table sat in the corner. Placed their guitar case beside the bed, and Lena folded their blankets neatly. Daniel unpacked their few belongings, an old teddy bear, some worn books, and the photograph of their mother. In the quiet room, they felt a warmth they had not known in months. The next morning, Daniel walked the twins to a nearby school run by volunteers. The building was bright, with colorful drawings taped to the walls. Mara clutched Daniel's hand, nervous but hopeful. Lena bounced on her toes, excited to learn again. Inside, a gentle teacher greeted them and showed them to a bright classroom. Daniel watched as his daughters sat at small desks, their eyes shining at the new pencils and paper. He felt pride bloom in his chest. After he left them, Daniel met with a counselor at the center. He explained he once worked as a mechanic, but had lost his job when his grief took him away. The counselor offered him a place in a job training program. Daniel felt shame at his own failures, but accepted the offer. He realized he deserved another chance. As he signed the papers, hope fluttered in his heart, hope that he could provide for his girls again at noon. The twins ran into Daniel's arms at the school gate. They chattered about their lessons, letters, numbers, and new friends. Mara told him about a shy boy who liked her song, and Lena said a girl taught them a funny rhyme. Daniel's laughter echoed in the quiet courtyard. They sat on a bench, and he helped them trace letters in a small notebook. Their heads bent together, they found joy in simple words and shared laughter that lifted their spirits. That afternoon, Daniel joined a basic computer class at the center. He learned to type and use simple programs. His fingers trembled over the keys, but he kept going. Every letter he typed reminded him of how far he had come from a man alone and broken too, a father rebuilding his life. He thought of his daughters waiting, counting on him. He felt steady determination fill him. In the early evening, the center's common room filled with families. Daniel brought his guitar, and Mara and Lena stood beside him. He strummed the first chord of their lullaby. The twins' voices rose in harmony, soft and warm. Other families listened with tears in their eyes. In that moment, Daniel saw how their song could heal more than just their own hearts. When they finished, applause and gentle smiles greeted them. Daniel bowed his head, grateful for this new circle of strangers who had become friends. As night fell, Daniel carried Mara to their bed, while Lena climbed in beside her sister. He pulled the thin blankets up to their chins and kissed each forehead. "Sleep well, my stars," he whispered. The twins closed their eyes, their breathing slow and peaceful. Daniel sat on the edge of the mattress, looking at them in the dim light. He touched the photograph on the small table, then looked back. At his sleeping daughters, he found the prom faces. He found the promise of tomorrow, a promise he would never break. Some weeks later, Daniel found a small flat near the center. The room was modest but clean. A living room, a tiny kitchen, and 2 small bedrooms felt like a palace after months of shelters and bus seats. He signed the lease with shaking hands. Mara and Lena watched him with bright eyes, their backpacks slung over their shoulders. When he handed them the keys, they gasped, their smiles wide enough to light the whole city. Moving day arrived with soft morning light. Neighbors from the center helped Daniel carry boxes up the narrow stairs. Mara balanced the stack of dishes carefully, and Lena carried their few books. The walls were bare now, but they planned together where to hang drawings and photographs. Daniel painted a small section with the twins' favorite color, pastel blue. In that lively hue, they saw a new beginning shining on every wall. That evening, the family gathered in their living room as dusk settled outside. Daniel unpacked the Guitar and Mara placed the photograph of their mother on the mantel. Lena lit a small lamp that cast warm light around them. Daniel strummed the first chords of their lullaby. Mara and Lena joined in, their voices weaving hope into the quiet. The empty rooms filled with melody and memory, and for the first time, they belonged in that place. Next morning, Daniel stepped out to buy simple groceries. The twins stayed home to tidy their new rooms. The kitchen smelled of fresh bread and butter. Mara arranged flowers in a small vase Lena had found. Lena said, "2 mugs on the table." When Daniel returned, the table looked like a picture in a book. They shared breakfast and laughter, tasting slices of their own independence. With each bite, they grew stronger together. School days continued.
Ow.
Mara wrote poems about sunshine. In city gardens, Lena painted small landscapes of the center's courtyard. Daniel dropped them off and picked them up each day, blessing each letter and drawing the girls brought home. He started work at a local garage, learning to fix engines. Again, he tucked a promise in every bolt he turned to protect his daughters, to build a life worthy of their trust and love. On a warm afternoon, the center held a celebration of community talent. Daniel signed up the twins to sing on a small outdoor stage. They stood in matching pastel dresses. Daniel watched from the front row, heart pounding with pride. Mara's clear soprano and Lena's soft alto rose together, carrying the lullaby that had saved them. The crowd listened in respectful silence, then cheered and clapped. In their applause, Daniel heard the sound of home. That night, Daniel tucked the girls into bed in their own rooms for the first time. He kissed each forehead and whispered, "Good night, my loves." As he closed the door, he paused to look at the photograph on the shelf next to their beds. The image of their mother smiled back at him. Daniel knew their journey was not over. But in that quiet moment, he felt a peace he had not known before. Outside, the city lights sparkled like distant stars. Inside, a small family dreamed of tomorrow. Mara and Lena slept peacefully, held by the safety of their new home and their father's love. Daniel sat beside their door, listening to their gentle breaths. His heart was full of hope, and he knew that as long as they were together, every dawn would bring new possibilities.